You are listening to Mind Over Me, the mental wellness podcast with me, Scott Carter. I am a licensed therapist and someone who is very mindful and aware of the decline in our collective mental health. I created this podcast so that we could have more direct and honest conversations about difficult topics and difficult issues. It's my goal to have honest but direct conversations that we need to have that are necessary. It's also my goal to give my listeners the information that they need in order to find their own mental health and mental wellness. This is where you will find the information that you need to be your own healer. And of course, all of this is based on years of clinical experience and expertise. Thank you for being here. Let's dive right in. So, I found a few gems on the therapist subreddit. I thought I would share a few. Okay, so let's see. The title of this thread is what is your therapy unpopular opinion? So just skimming through a few of these. Treatment plans are stupid. Yep, they're stupid. Treatment plans, if you don't know, therapists are required to do a treatment plan. Doesn't matter if you're in private practice, if you're in hospital, whatever, any setting, therapist is required to create a treatment plan. This is driven by insurance companies. This is an insurance company mandated thing, not the therapy community. Here's another good one. I think therapists take therapy way too seriously and don't know how to treat clients like a human being. Amen. Amen. Yes, absolutely true. Agree with that one. Not everything is trauma. Thank you. Nice to see some sane therapists out there. Here's one that I wish I could have upvoted twice. The popularity of EMDR is due to marketing, not because it's so much better than CPT. CPT is cognitive processing therapy. I don't know a ton about CPT, to be honest, but um, I'm not sure why they specifically listed CPT. There's lots of trauma therapy, but yes, EMDR has a much better reputation than it deserves. Much better. EMDR is a little bit of a cult inside of the therapy world. It's and the in group, the EMDR crowd is the in group. A lot of therapists seek EMDR so that they can be cool, so they can be in the cool kids club, not because it's special. Even though they want to believe that it's special, it's not. EMDR is popular because the EMDR camp had incredible marketing. And you got to be a little bit careful who you say that to because when it comes to the EMDR crowd, you might bruise some egos, um, might hurt some feelings. Um, but yeah, it goes on. There's a lot more. Oh, this one. This is a big one for me. I just saw this one. This one gets an upvote. I wish I could upvote this one twice. Therapists ignoring clients' self-determination and pushing their own agendas. Oh man. I feel like I could do a whole podcast episode just on this topic and how there's way too many clients that are getting lost in the mental health machine where like psychology is happening to them and not involving them, right? Like people need to be in charge of their own wellness, not just lost in the we need to do more psychological testing. We need more diagnosing. Oh, here, take this questionnaire. Go take your meds. It removes self-efficacy and self-determination from therapy, and it's not effective. Here's another gem, okay? I don't know how, quote unquote, unpopular this is, but daily cardiovascular exercise builds mental resilience, and I just don't think it's emphasized enough in our training and work. Very true. Double up vote for that one if I could. This is actually a new one on me, but I can see where this is going. I hate the term neurospicy. I've never heard the term neurospicy. I'm not the least bit surprised that somebody has made it up somewhere. Somebody's conjured this term. This person also went on to say that not everyone is autistic. So true. Okay, that's a big topic. Like, have a client who works at a daycare, and she said one of her coworkers said everybody's a little bit autistic. No, they're not. False. That's completely false. No, not everybody is autistic. That's that is an opinion that came from the public. So many gems here. I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm looking for one specific comment because I want, or yeah, one specific reply because I wanted to read it. But this one's good too. Therapists today lack the research methods and data analysis skills to tell good research from bad. So true. And is harming the profession. So true. Not every therapy modality is valid or effective, or not every bit of research is valid or helpful. As a therapist, one of my big pet peeves is going to conferences and having to sit through presentations from PhDs, psychologists who have never done a single therapy session. All they do is research and teach college classes, and they're telling us how to do therapy. Give me a break. They keep coming. Here we go. Next one. You don't need a therapist to teach you coping skills that you probably won't use anyways. You you really don't. You want to learn coping skills and just get on the internet. Go listen to a podcast or something. So I can't find the exact one that I was looking for. I don't want to wrap this part of the segment up. Basically, someone was saying there's no such thing as neurodivergence. That's not a thing. Neurodivergence, I hear this word all the time from people, and they'll say, I'm neurodivergent, or that person's neurodivergent. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? Is that another term for autism? No, it's not. It's not another term for autism. It just means that person is different. The trouble is that people are using the word or the term or the concept of, well, because I'm neurodivergent, I have a disorder and I have a disability, therefore I'm incapable. Neurodivergence is terminology that the public came up with. This is not formally supported. Neurodivergence is not formally supported by psychology or therapy. Again, this is just something that the court of a public opinion conjured out of thin air. And my theory on it is essentially that there's just too many people out there who they're looking for reasons why they don't have to work. Like, I swear to God, there is a new epidemic of the avoidance of anything difficult or hard. And like the people, especially young people, the Gen Zers, they go to absurd lengths to not have to make any effort or put any effort into anything. And it's like, this isn't working, okay? Your incessant need to not put effort into stuff is not helping your life, is not making you better in any way. And to me, it's like, well, I'm neurodivergent, so therefore I can't. To me, ADHD has also fallen under this umbrella. If you're new here, I did a whole episode on ADHD. I'm tired of people saying or people treating ADHD like it's some sort of disability, that if you have ADHD, therefore you're incapable. Totally false. But these younger generations, they seem to be conjuring disabilities that aren't disabilities. Like I heard time blindness. I heard one Gen Zer say time blindness. It's not a disability. It's not a real thing. It's something that they conjured so that they don't have to take responsibility. Anyways, let's move on. Let's move on with this episode. So it has been a hot minute since I have. Hang on, I'm going to bring up my notes. It's been a hot minute since I have recorded and published an episode. Quite frankly, several things in my life kind of blew up. Some of the shit hit the fan in multiple ways. Somewhere between ongoing plumbing issues, broken cavities that need to be replaced, um, a little bit of health issues, and just a few other random things that I won't mention. So, thanks for being here. Thank you for listening. Sorry for the delay, and space between them. Frankly, I feel like I'm always working on something else. My frustration with myself is I feel like I'm always working on a project, but I never really complete much or really truly get anywhere. Anyways, that's my issue. That's something that I'm personally working on. I've also been making more videos, like YouTube videos on about anxiety, my anxiety course. Just as a reminder, if you're new here and you have anxiety, which is pretty much everybody these days, I created a whole long course on treating anxiety. And honestly, I feel like if I just want to specialize in anxiety, I could, but it doesn't make me excited. It doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. But if you want to go take my course, if you have really bad anxiety, it's loaded with skills. I help a lot of people with anxiety. I've helped my own anxiety. I live anxiety free now. It's a miracle. It's wonderful. I love it. So I built this course to help people. And that link will be in the description below. You can go take it on my website. So let's get into the topic of this episode. Let's talk about emotional intelligence, very, maybe very misunderstood topic, very convoluted, very subjective, maybe. There has been research behind this. There have been psychologists behind this. There have been books written about this. The scientific method has been applied to emotional intelligence to a certain degree. And if you take to the internet and the court of public opinion, you're going to get a lot of wrong ideas about what emotional intelligence is and what it is not. It's easy to come by people who brag about having emotional intelligence, which, if you're bragging about emotional intelligence, that is a low emotion. That's not an emotionally intelligent thing to do. I'm just saying. Emotional intelligence is not just being emotional or outwardly projecting your emotions. That's not what emotional intelligence is. I feel like when I encounter people online who talk about emotional intelligence, that seems to be their standard definition, where they're like, "Well, I express emotion. I just express a lot of emotion. That's what emotional intelligence is." That's not what it is. And just kind of looking over all of these notes that I have, I mean, this could potentially be 2 episodes. Um, but let's first talk about what low emotional intelligence actually looks like, because I feel like there's a lot more of that going around. Um, eh, just assuming that you have high emotional intelligence, like, let me put it this way: emotional intelligence is something that you earn. Okay. It's something that you get out and earn. Now, some people are going to be more inclined towards being more emotionally intelligent than others. Sort of similar to the way that people might be more musically inclined, right? You take 10 kids and put them in front of a piano to learn it, and what, two or three of them are going to just be naturally inclined to be better at it and learn it quickly, right? Because they're more musically inclined. But assuming that you have high emotional intelligence, because, well, that's just who I am, even though you haven't really put in the effort or put in the work, right? And to me, that sounds immature and arrogant, lack of insight. Okay, and so here's just a bulleted checklist of signs of low or poor emotional intelligence. Okay, emotionally impulsive or emotionally reactive. Okay. Like, just your emotion. If your emotions are really constantly up and down, if you're reacting to people and their actions and their words constantly, you have poor emotional intelligence. Moving on, constant defensiveness, always defending yourself, always explaining yourself, always feeling defensive, feeling blamed, needing just to defend yourself, never taking account. Low accountability is always, like, people who have low accountability, low, like, nothing's their fault, they never did anything wrong, that is a definite huge sign of poor emotional intelligence. Does not do well with frustration. uh, has difficulty naming emotions. I already mentioned this, but blaming others, always blaming others, constant blame, that is like, right. Big red flag. When you have someone who always blames others, that is instant emotional, low emotional intelligence. Misreading intentions of in other people. Taking everything personally. That's a good one. That's a big one too. And we see that a lot, right? That is so, so, so incredibly common these days, to see people who are, they just take everything personally. Everything's a dig. Everything's a jab. Everything is right. Just take everything personally. Inability to self-soothe, or inability to self-soothe in, like, helpful ways, right? If you're self-soothing with drugs, if you're just getting drunk, it's your only way to self-soothe, or doing something risky or dangerous, right? Then that's low emotional intelligence. This is a big one. Okay, I like this one a lot, actually. Poor conflict skills. Like, you see people who they cannot have interpersonal conflict, whether at work or in the family or with their partner, and have a positive resolution. So that's a major sign of poor emotional intelligence. And if you're out there, right, and you're listening to this and you're like, you might be thinking like, Okay, all of my fights go poorly with my wife or husband or whatever, and but it's not my fault, it's theirs. See, you just blamed. You just blame them. So yeah, you have poor emotional intelligence, I would say. Okay, and the last one that I have on this bulleted list is excuse me, emotional avoidance. So this one is to me epidemic. Like I people have gotten into the mindset that they're not supposed to be experiencing certain emotions, and those emotions are bad, and they just need to get rid of those emotions as quickly as they can, rather than seeing those emotions as helpful, which it generally can and should be true, right? Like emotions can be helpful, they can be useful. Okay, the next list, what high emotional intelligence actually does look like. Okay, um, we're going to start with accountability. Okay, accountability, people, they just take accountability for their actions, for what they've done, even if it hurts. Accountability hurts, but that is the mature and emotionally intelligent thing to do. To me, that is like one of the primary indicators that somebody has a high level of emotional intelligence, that they are, they take accountability, right? My bad. That's on me. I screwed up, right? I even saw one lady on TikTok where she's like, I was a bitch to my husband. I treated him terribly and he left me and it served me right. I deserved it. And I earned that. And like part of me is like, you bitch. And the other part of me is like, good for her. I respect the accountability. Like that's hard. Like doing that is hard. It's a very mature and an emotionally intelligent thing to do. Okay. Continuing this list. Notices emotions quickly. Okay. Doesn't panic because of emotions. Um, I'm gonna present a case study after I get through this list here of an example that came through my office very recently of very poor emotional intelligence. Emotionally intelligent people stay curious. This is a good one. They tolerate discomfort. That's a very good one. People with poor emotional intelligence, as soon as they get emotionally uncomfortable, yeah, they tend to crumble. They tend to fall apart. Okay. People with high emotional intelligence are much better being emotionally uncomfortable. This is another good one. They read people well. Um, Next one, uh, communicates clearly. Very nice. Yep. Um, doesn't personalize everything. Right. So when it comes to these lists, it's like there's going to be a dichotomy, right? You're gonna have the opposites. Okay. Um, doesn't personalize everything versus the person who's low emotional intelligence and does. um, I'm going to add to that too. The lack of emotional intelligence makes everything about them. That's a big one these days. Adapts during conflict. Okay, that's obviously the opposite of poor conflict skills. Okay, forgives appropriately and apologizes well. Okay, so that's going to fall under the umbrella of accountability. Emotionally intelligent people also set boundaries. Now, in that one, I'm going to give with a word of caution because, like many things, just like I think what's hard with like behavior and mental health these days is how grossly people misinterpret so many things these days. So it's like setting boundaries does not mean you get to tell other people what to do. That's not what setting boundaries means. Like you kind of see this in a relationship sense. Like I told him when I wanted the dishes done and he didn't do it. He broke my boundaries. That's not a boundary. That's not you're not understanding what boundaries are. But not understanding boundaries is going to be obviously a sign of low emotional intelligence, and a better understanding of boundaries is higher emotional intelligence. And the last one on this list is recovers after emotional setbacks. So there's a lot of literature on emotional intelligence, a lot of theories developed by psychologists, and there are some common themes across most of the models here. Okay, first of all, well, to me, the first one, this one has to be number one on the list. The way that you can tell somebody has high emotional intelligence is their degree of self awareness. And self awareness is one of those things that it's a mile wide and a mile deep, Many, many important implications and applications for self awareness. Next one on the list, the ability to emotionally regulate. Okay. Can I control my behavior instead of letting emotion control me? Right. And really, it's like this reminds me of another concept I have in mind where there's like an adult mindset and then there's like a child mindset. And uh, there's not enough people, frankly, growing up. Like, where have all the adults gone? I think I did an episode about that on that many moons ago. Um, so go look that up if you want. Check it out. Um, but like in child mind, what I would call it, it is emotions manage me. Like I have to do what my emotions tell me. I act on emotions and I just hope and pray that they behave themselves, whereas adults are like, I learned to manage my own emotions. The next one on this list of common themes across the research is empathy. Can I accurately understand another person's internal experience? Right. And this is a huge sign that our society has become horribly emotionally unintelligent. Because, I mean, just the projection onto other people online on social media and assuming that they have the absolute worst intentions. And then I see this so often where it's like, because, excuse me, because this person sees the world different from me, has a different opinion than me, that means they're evil and stupid, right? The inability to understand their intentions. There's such a political divide in our country that it's like, see people on both sides of the aisle where it's like, they're both like, they're not really understanding where each other's coming from. But if you find yourself in a position where you're often assuming that you know what other people are thinking or why they're doing things or what's in their heart or what's in their mind, that's poor. That's going to be poor emotional intelligence. Okay, so this next one to me is extremely important. It's perspective taking. Okay, taking different perspectives is high emotional intelligence as well. Can I look at this from a different angle? Can I see this for what it really is? What can I see what is objectively happening versus what I feel like is happening? For low emotionally intelligent people, feelings are facts. For high emotionally intelligent people, right, they understand that emotions are just emotions. That doesn't mean that what you feel is true. A lot of people that I work with will often feel like they're being persecuted by other people. Like those people are judging me. They're thinking bad things about me. They're mistreating me somehow. They're doing what they're doing to persecute me somehow. That's very, very low emotional intelligence. I would, if you're describing sort of the so-called main character syndrome, that is very, very, very low emotional intelligence right there, is thinking people are like, I hear this from young people all the time. Other people are looking at me. They're thinking things about me. They're judging me. I spend a lot of time convincing teenagers that, hey, you're actually not that important to other people. Sorry. But again, low emotional intelligence there. Okay. And let's see, what is this last? Sorry, I got to scroll down on my two more points on this list. Okay. Common themes against the emotional intelligence research. Okay. Excuse me. Can relationship management. Now, getting into an intimate or romantic relationship will truly, truly, truly test to see how emotionally intelligent you are. As a therapist, right, people talk to me about their relationship issues all the time. And it's very, very, very common for me to hear people describe a dynamic where um, the relationship is painted as in a black and white way. One person is always right, always doing everything right, never at fault. And the other person is 100% wrong, 100% at fault. Okay, that is a low emotional intelligence couple right there. And again, like low ownership couples, where it's constant finger pointing and I don't do anything right and all of our problems are your fault, that is very, very poor emotional intelligence. And I mean, in my opinion, that couple was more than likely to fail. And frankly, they probably should. Um, that's not what that's not what love and relationships are supposed to be, people. And finally, the last one on this list is motivation. Can I keep moving toward long-term goals despite being temporarily emotional, despite temporary emotional discomfort? Okay. Um, and again, I'm just kind of reading across some of the research here. There are a lot of different theories on emotional intelligence by different psychologists, different camps. There's a lot of common themes, but it's pretty interesting stuff. Um, I probably won't do a second episode now that I look at it on emotional intelligence, but um, I will finish with this ways to. Then we'll wrap up this episode, and then we'll do our shadow work journal prompts, and that is steps to become more emotionally intelligent. Number one, increase your self awareness. Okay, stop looking at other people, stop analyzing their behavior, stop judging them, stop expecting them. Look at yourself, worry about yourself. Okay, number two, take responsibility for your life. Okay, again, responsibility, accountability, total ownership for your life is highly emotional intelligent. There is, there's a lot of content out there on this, by the way, and it's a little dry, but it's extremely important. Honestly, accountability and responsibility to me are like probably the single most universally important practice for everything good. It will help you. It will help your life. It will help your relationships. It will help your work life. It'll help your parenting. It'll help your friendships. It'll help your family relationships. I mean, it just like when you go from a no accountability person to a high accountability person, your life changes in a good way. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it hurts. Again, so many people here these days that are like, oh, it's hard. I have to put effort into it and it might hurt. Never mind. Screw it. This is why we're falling apart. That's why society is falling apart. In my opinion. In my opinion. Okay. The third thing on my list to improve your emotional intelligence, seek to understand others. Stop assuming that you understand other people. Stop looking at them as though they're stupid or bad or evil because they're different from you or they have a different opinion from you. And the last one I'm going to put on this list to increase your emotional intelligence is keep practicing it. This is not a one-time thing, okay? This isn't a task on a checklist. You got to make it a lifestyle. This has to be part of who you are. Emotional intelligence is something that you become. It's something you develop. It's something that you grow. Again, think about learning to play the piano. You don't sit down at the piano a few times and be like, there, I learned the piano and I'm done now forever. Okay, so therapy means change. If you're not looking to change, you might have your, right, you might be looking in the wrong direction. Let's get to the shadow work journal prompts. If you're new here, I like to finish all my episodes with shadow work journal prompts. We use shadow work to really build our insight. It creates change. We get to the root and core of the problem. Um, we piece ourselves back together. Shadow work is very, very, very important and can be very effective if done properly. As usual, I recommend setting aside a specific notebook or journal specifically for your own shadow work. It's better if you do it in writing. And first, a disclaimer, I'm a therapist. I'm not your therapist. Use your own discretion when doing these. You may want to include your own therapist if you're going to do shadow work journal prompts. And my shadow work journal prompts are not for wimps, so use your discretion. These are deep insight shadow work journal prompts. Let's dive in. Obviously, these are going to have to do with emotional intelligence. Okay. Number one, give yourself a letter grade on your emotional intelligence based on the information that I have provided here. Be honest with yourself. If it hurts, then you're doing it right. Give yourself an honest letter grade on your emotional intelligence using the criteria of how well do I do with discomfort? How's my accountability level? Do I take things personally? Do I react to emotions? Do my emotions manage me? Number two, what experiences in my life shaped my emotional intelligence? Oh, you know what? I was going to tell a story. I'll do that after. Um, okay. What experiences did I have that influenced my emotional intelligence? Number three, what were my parents like? Were my parents emotionally intelligent or not? This is actually going to lead into the story I was going to tell. Okay, look at both of your parents, right? If they're in your life, okay? And just make some notes on their emotional intelligence or lack of it. And number 4, um, what would be different about my life if I had better emotional intelligence? Like, what would be different? What would improve? Okay, write them down. Okay, that's going to do it for our journal prompts. But so recently, just working with a client, we're talking about this individual's father. Now, in my client's mind, this father was an absolute giant of a man when my client was young. He'd accomplished so much. He was incredibly smart. He was good with money. He had a good job. He had nice things. He was accomplished, successful. Part of the moral of the story, early spoiler, is that we might look at people with like monetary success, or maybe they have a good job, maybe they have a lot of money, maybe they drive a nice car. We automatically tend to assume that person understands it all. That person has got it together emotionally or relationally. And that's not true, right? That's totally false, because my client has come to realize that his dad is absurdly emotionally unintelligent. So think of it this way, right? There's like a kind of a physical, material side of things, and there's like a mental, emotional side of things where things are, right, more about sensing and feeling. And a person can be highly, highly accomplished, right, in the physical, material sense, but profoundly and absurdly stupid. And And I, like it is, man. I have had these clients, man. I remember the wealthiest client I ever had. I mean, this guy he was doing tens of millions of dollars in international business deals. Oh, just wealthy, 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 wealthy man. Profoundly, profoundly stupid when it came to women and relationships with women. So it's not uncommon to see people like that are just profoundly out of balance. I know somebody like that in my personal life too, like smart, hardworking, accomplished, successful, profoundly checked out when it comes to family matters and emotional matters. The moral of the story is just because someone is accomplished in life doesn't mean they have a high emotional intelligence. I've seen so many examples of people where they're very accomplished in life, but their relationships are in shambles. They have poor insight. They do poorly with conflict. They're dishonest with themselves. They're dishonest with others. They don't communicate well. And it's interesting because I've noticed this dichotomy with people. And I'm even thinking of somebody else that I know. It's like good job, big house, successful, money, accomplished. Marriage is a disaster. Marriage is an absolute disaster. But the trouble these days, it's like a lot of people will think, they'll falsely think, well, if I have money and I have nice stuff, well, why on earth would I want to be emotionally intelligent? Well, because your relationships matter, guys. Because your relationships matter. We are hardwired for human connection. If you're if and I mean this in the nicest way possible, but if you're emotionally stupid, you're not going to have those connections. You're not going to have those deep, intimate connections. Too many people these days think like, well, if you have money and a nice house and a nice car, what else is there? Friendship, love, human connection, human experiences, those things, the things that give us meaning. And that really is the primary reason why we want to be emotionally intelligent, because our relationships with other people really suffer when we're not. Anyways, thanks for sticking around. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to help me grow my audience. If you want to take my anxiety course. Oh, I also created a workbook on healing narcissistic trauma. Very complicated topic. I feel like the workbook is good. You can purchase it on Amazon. I'll put that link also in the description below. Thanks for listening. You know what? I'm going to publish this today. It's going to be a day late, but I want to publish it because I want to make some videos on this topic as well. Thanks again for being here. Remember, guys, you must do hard things.